There's a version of this story where two guys walk away with $40,000 each for pulling a trigger. That's the version they themselves were sold on. That's what they agreed to when they loaded into a stolen car on November 17th, 2021, and drove to a cookie shop in Memphis in broad daylight. It was a story that would later be revealed to a United States court years later. But here's what actually happened. One of them ended up in prison for life plus 35 years. The other one is heading in the same direction. And between the two of them, one may have received his pay, emphasis on may, and the other only got $800. A measly $800. That's all Cornelius Smith collected in exchange for murdering a Memphis area rapper in the winter of 2021. Instead of the 40 bands he was promised, that's what it cost to throw his entire life away. Murder one of the most beloved rappers his city had ever produced, and turn an entire community against him. This is how to get life in prison for less than the cost of an iPhone. Adolph Thornton Jr. was born in Chicago in 1985, but raised in Castalia Heights, South Memphis, by his grandmother after his parents fell into crack addiction. He bounced through 9 different schools, got expelled in 8th grade for bringing a gun, did 2 years on house arrest, and lost a basketball scholarship at 15 when he was diagnosed with a heart murmur. He came back to Castalia Heights with no clear path forward and turned to street life. Then in 2008, almost by accident during a studio session with a friend who fell asleep, he picked up a microphone for the first time, and within 2 years, he had his own independent record label, Paper Route Empire. He called himself Young Dolph. Over the next decade, he built something real and did it entirely on his own terms, refusing every major label deal and insisting on full ownership of his music. His 2020 album Rich Slave peaked at number 4 on the Billboard 200. He signed younger Memphis artists, mentored his cousin Key Glock, organized annual Thanksgiving turkey giveaways in his old neighborhood, and owned over 100 properties in Memphis. By 2021, he was 36 years old, a father of 2, and at the peak of what he had built. But coming out of the hood, especially in a city as violent and treacherous as Memphis, means that the envy on someone is almost heavy enough to literally ruin them. Success in Memphis rap had always brought natural enemies. Lames who saw someone else's success as a blow to their own bitterness, and Dolph had never been shy about making them. For years, he had been in a running feud with Yo Gotti's label, Collective Music Group, also known as CMG. Dolph had never wanted anything to do with the label and had turned them down repeatedly despite their interest, and he made a public point of it, bragging about his independence, rapping about refusing to be under anybody, and using that as a defining part of his identity. CMG didn't appreciate being dismissed so openly, and Dolph made it worse by putting out diss tracks aimed at the label, its artists, and Yo Gotti's brother Anthony Mims, known on the street as Big Jook. The feud had already turned violent multiple times. In 2017, Dolph's car was ambushed and hit with over 100 bullets in Charlotte, and later that same year, he was shot 3 times outside a hotel in Los Angeles. He survived both and kept rapping about them like they were war stories. He seemed, to a lot of people who watched his career, like someone the streets simply could not kill. That only made his opposition more determined. According to testimony given at trial, Big Jook had eventually put a 100-band bounty on Young Dolph's head and placed additional bounties on every other artist signed to Paper Route Empire. A Memphis man named Hernandez Govan, who ran in CMG circles and acted as a go-between for the label and street-level operators, began shopping the contract to potential shooters. He found 2. Justin Johnson was 23 years old and rapped under the name Straight Drop. Prosecutors said he wasn't just in it for the money, he wanted the street reputation that came with being the goofy who took out Young Dolph, believing it would jumpstart his own rap career. Money was one thing, but murdering someone in and of itself was enough for him. Cornelius Smith, the other killer, was 32, had recently lost a son, and later testified in court that he had been on drugs and not in his right mind for months leading up to the shooting. "I wasn't feeling nothing at the time," Smith said on the stand. "I'm not gonna lie, I was just trying to get some money." The deal was 40 Gs each for Smith and Johnson, and 10 going to Govan for organizing it and supplying the guns. The 3 of them spent several weeks coordinating by phone and in person, making plans and waiting for the right moment to catch Dolph in the open. They could have honestly just spent that time trying to actually make money instead, but they decided to await an opportunity. That opportunity came on November 17, 2021. Smith and Johnson knew exactly where to find Dolph because of something he did every single year without fail: a Thanksgiving turkey giveaway for the people in his old Castalia Heights neighborhood. He never missed it. It was exactly the kind of thing that made him beloved in Memphis, something that his rivals couldn't understand due to their envy. Smith and Johnson instead used it to track him. That morning, the 2 men got into a stolen white Mercedes-Benz and started driving toward Airways Boulevard. Young Dolph had stopped into Makeda's Homemade Butter Cookies, a small local bakery on Airways Boulevard near his old neighborhood, to pick up cookies for his mother. It was a routine errand on a normal Wednesday afternoon. The bakery was a community staple in the area, a strip mall spot that people from the neighborhood had been going to for years. Dolph was at the counter making his purchase when the Mercedes pulled up outside. Smith and Johnson got out of the car wearing masks and hoodies, ran up to the storefront, and opened fire through the window, shooting into the bakery without any hesitation. They fired more than 20 rounds into the building. Dolph was hit multiple times and went down on the floor. He never had a chance to react. The whole thing was over in seconds. Dolph's brother Marcus Thornton, who was inside Makeda's, came out with his own gun and opened fire on Smith and Johnson as they turned back toward the Mercedes. Smith was hit in the arm and leg. Johnson was grazed in the back. Despite the wounds, both men made it into the car and sped off. The stolen Mercedes was found abandoned shortly after in the Orange Mound neighborhood, parked directly next door to Hernandez Govin's house. Surveillance cameras inside and outside Makeda's Cookies had captured the entire shooting on video. Memphis police released stills from the footage publicly within days, and the images spread immediately. Two masked men in matching dark hoodies stepping out of a stolen car and firing into a neighborhood bakery in broad daylight. The video was clear enough that investigators could identify clothing, build, and movement. They pulled phone records, cell tower data placing Johnson near the scene at the time of the shooting, and testimony from witnesses who had seen the two men before and after. Justin Johnson went on the run for over a month. His half-brother Jamarcus took his phone and posted to his social media accounts to create the impression that Johnson was somewhere else entirely during the time of the murder. It didn't hold up. A first-degree murder warrant was issued for Johnson in January 2022, and a $15,000 reward was offered for information leading to his arrest. He was caught shortly after. Cornelius Smith had already been picked up on theft charges connected to the stolen Mercedes and was formally indicted on murder charges in the weeks that followed. Other people were involved in the case past the two shooters. Shundale Barnett was arrested by U.S. Marshals for accessory after the fact, but the charges were dropped mid-trial. Jamarcus Johnson pleaded guilty to 3 counts of accessory after the fact in 2023 for his role in helping the two evade capture. Nearly 3 years passed before the case went to trial. When Justin Johnson's trial finally began in September 2024, Cornelius Smith took the stand against him on the very first day and admitted to everything. He confirmed that he and Johnson had shot young Dolph, identified both of them on the surveillance footage from Makeda's, and walked the jury through the entire chain of command. He described pulling up in the Mercedes, getting out, and opening fire. He described running back to the car while Dolph's brother shot back at them and getting hit a bunch of times. He said he was numb to all of it at the time, grieving his son, deep into drug use, not caring what happened to himself or anyone else. He told the court he decided to testify because he was going to prison regardless and wanted to get it off his chest. And then Johnson's defense attorney pointed out that the day of the murder was also Smith's daughter's birthday and asked him directly how he could have done it on that day. Smith's answer was simply, "I'm trying to make it rain for her. I wanted to make a beautiful day for her." When asked how much of the promised $40,000 he had actually received before his arrest, Smith said $800. That was the entire payment, $800. The jury deliberated for just under 4 hours. On September 26, 2024, Justin Johnson was found guilty on all counts: first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and being a convicted felon in possession of a firearm. Judge Jennifer Mitchell sentenced him to life in prison immediately after the verdict was read, right there in the courtroom. In November 2024, she came back and added 35 more years for the conspiracy charge and 15 for the weapons charge, all stacked on top of the life sentence. Johnson's attorney said he was disappointed with the outcome. Cornelius Smith awaits his own trial and is expected to face the same charges. Hernandez Govin, the man Smith testified organized the entire operation and supplied the guns, went to trial in 2025 and was found not guilty on all charges. Big Jook, the man prosecutors said put out the hit in the first place, was shot and killed outside a Memphis restaurant in January 2024 before he was ever charged with a single thing related to Dolph's death. Justin Johnson wanted rap fame and 40 bands. He got life in prison plus 35 years. Cornelius Smith wanted money to get through the worst period of his life. He got $800 and a murder charge. A complete waste of potentially successful rap careers over some goofy-ass envy. Instead of trying to better themselves and make real lasting careers, they decided to kill someone doing better than them. But probably the most offensive part of this entire story is that even after doing all that for cash, Smith got less than a band by his own buddies.